Welcome to the Healthy Investor Podcast with Bob Mastriani, where you and I will learn from successful real estate investors, entrepreneurs, and other highly driven individuals about their journey and the healthy habits and routines that play an integral part of their growth. All right, welcome back to the Healthy Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Bob Mastriani. Today I have with me a team. I have Devin McNichol and Aaron Bernbach. Together, they're actually both realtors in the Los Angeles area. They both have high stakes real estate experience. They've sold close to $250 million worth of real estate over the past 4 to 5 years, which is a really impressive achievement. They've actually teamed up together for real estate investments. So they have about 300 units together. Devin has experience in high stakes negotiation, leasing multi-million dollar homes, operating short-term rentals, asset management, multifamily apartment buildings. His real estate team also hosts a biannual food drive to benefit local community and sponsor local public schools. And he's a proud Syracuse University graduate. Aaron is a systems-focused skilled negotiator and business manager. His specialties are investing and broker relations, market and deal analysis, due diligence, and asset management. Aaron's an active member and contributor of the Wheelbarrow Profits multifamily community. And together, as I mentioned, they both have a little over 300 units in their investment portfolio. Devin, Aaron, thanks so much for being here today, guys.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us. Excited to be here.
Yeah, great. So if you can, I'd like to go down the path. I know you've teamed up. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about your team, about your investment experience, and what your portfolio looks like now, and maybe just go a little bit down the journey to tell us how you got here.
For sure. Well, Devin and I met in 2009, actually playing music together. So we were in a band, we traveled around the country, playing shows. And while we were doing that, we were listening to real estate podcasts, kind of started with Bigger Pockets, I think where most people do. And then, just from there kind of exploded, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say, we teamed up long before the real estate team teaming up. We, like Aaron mentioned, we're playing music in a band together. And we knew we could do business together. And we found there was kind of an aha moment for me, I'll speak for myself, of listening to ABCs of real estate investing and the podcasts and saying, wow, real estate's a basic human need. And why am I not in this asset class with some of my investments? And I decided, hey, I need to learn about this. And so Aaron said, well, why don't we do the real estate course to become realtors? We had some mentors tell us, you guys are musicians. Why don't you learn from the inside out? So we actually took the real estate class, the class together. He took the test 2 hours before me. I told him not to tell me if he passed or failed. I didn't want the pressure either way.
Okay.
And, luckily, we both passed. We joined the team. We started a team for real estate sales together. That has gone very well. We're super proud to help all the people we've helped and grateful for those opportunities. And 2.5, 3 years ago, refocused our energy on the investment side of things and have been grateful and a little bit of luck, obviously, and a lot of hard work to take down 300 units. And we have an 88 unit under contract set to close at the end of September in Florida as well.
Great. So interesting. I like the idea that you already had a friendship, a relationship, and being bandmates. So you knew you could work together and you knew you could sort of stand creativity together, right? Working things out together, some of the pressures of being in a band, you were able to, I'm sure, work through those. So you knew it would be a match to work together in another facet. So interesting that you took the road of becoming a realtor first. Now, did you intend to become a realtor first with the idea of learning the business, or was the idea more generating some income so that you had the ability to invest, or what was the thought process there?
It was a little bit of both. At the time, I was working in a restaurant. I think Devin was a substitute teacher at that point. And we were both pretty much working paycheck to paycheck. And one of the regulars in the restaurant that I worked at, I got really close with them over the years. and he's a real estate investor. He's also a dentist. And I was telling him, I was like, I want to get into multifamily. I want to start investing. He's like, well, I got news for you. It's not going to happen if you're working at this restaurant. um, and so what he recommended, and he did this, is while he was a dentist, he got his real estate license and started doing his own deals. So he said, why don't you get your license, start doing the sales thing, learn the business from the inside out, and save money in the process so that you'll actually put yourself in a position to be able to buy an apartment building. So that when he said it, it's just kind of like a light bulb went off, and I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. And it was probably some of the best advice that I've gotten, because it kind of led to where we are right now.
Yeah, that sounds like great advice. It seems like you're on a really good path. So fast forward a little bit, first deal, first investment. Tell me a little bit about it. Where was the location? What does the property look like? What's the opportunity?
Yeah, and to be clear, I don't think that you need to do that path. If somebody's listening and hasn't gotten started and is working a 9-to-5 job, or even as a waiter or a substitute teacher like I was doing, you can buckle down and do some investments and drive for dollars and find deals and try and partner with people that have more experience and money. That was just the path that we chose, and it worked out for us. Although I will say that the first couple of years of being in the real estate on the sales side, we were grinding to build that business and make money. So we kind of lost track of the investment side of things, and it's worked out for us now. But there was a period where we had to refocus into the investment. So everybody's path is different. I just wanted to say you could do it that way.
That's interesting that you say that. And before we go into the first deal a little bit. So when I first decided that I was going to move into real estate investing, I guess in 2008, the market was getting ready to crash. Little did I know. But I did the same thing. I actually went and got my real estate license. And for, I guess, probably about 8 or 9 years, I had my license in 2 states. And I live right outside of Philadelphia in South Jersey. So I had a Pennsylvania license, New Jersey license. And interestingly enough, as I move forward, sometimes when I speak with people and I mention that I was a realtor and that I had a real estate license, I think that to some people, the idea of that education and the idea of learning the business from there does create a small sense of additional credibility, I think.
Yeah, I could see that. We get a lot of phone calls from friends and stuff that are like, hey, what's happening in the market? We see this stuff on the news. What's going on? And while we can't necessarily speak to the whole country, we can kind of focus on what we know really, really well. But you definitely do have that. You become that center for real estate information.
Yeah. Okay. So let's dive in a little bit about the properties that you're currently invested in. Where location? I mean, you're in Los Angeles, California, correct? So, that area I know is a little bit expensive for investors, and, some investors I speak with shy away from California. Are you investing in your own backyard, or are you investing in other areas?
We have written multiple LOIs on apartment buildings here. We know a handful of very high net worth individuals who have done quite well in LA investing. And kind of what Aaron just mentioned as well, saying we're experts in this market. We know sub-markets that are phenomenal, path of progress, screen tenants have done. I mean, we've literally done $22,000 a month leases in LA.
Wow.
For luxury houses. We've done 18, 17, 20 in that range for homes. Apartment buildings, I think there's one right now, pretty close to where I live, $17,000 a month for an apartment. So if you get the right people in there and you do the screening, there are still ways to make money in LA. Obviously, there's risks like any market. We purchased a house here and we're adding a unit. So one of the big value adds is in Los Angeles, being able to add square footage and add units. So that's something that we're doing here with a fellow multifamily investor that we met through networking in our community. We have a deal in El Paso, Texas, 3 in Oklahoma City, 1 in Virginia, Lynchburg, and then the one that we're doing most recently now is the Tampa St. Pete market in Florida.
Yep. And that first one that you asked about, that was the El Paso, Texas. And it was with one of the mentors of ours, kind of brought us in, and we ended up being limited partners on that deal, just to kind of, we always knew we were going to operate and we wanted to raise money and do all of these things. and we wanted to see how the communication cadence went. That was the main reason for, I mean, obviously to get in and do it, but we wanted to see what communication looked like and kind of model how we do that moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's a really valuable piece of information that you shared there. Becoming a limited partner sometimes, for those of us who have that active mentality, it's a little bit of like, but I want to be active. I want to be active. But I think there's a lot of value in someone who has experience, joining up with someone who has experience. And as you mentioned, following that cadence, following that communication and learning what their investors expect. So then when you create your own deal and become general partners in your own deal, you can see what others are expecting. And then you could sort of take the good and weed out the bad, or what, decide on your own what's going to work for how you create that cadence for your investors. Very, very interesting. Yeah.
Exactly. And when a deal is good, it's good. So I'll speak for myself, but unlimited capital, I'd love to be a limited partner in a ton of my colleagues and mentors deals. Cause when you look at the deals, sometimes you say, wow, those are phenomenal. I wish I had a couple $1 million sitting in the bank that I could put into these. So yeah, the goal is to be active, like you said, and we're hungry for that, to build net worth and build capital to invest. But ultimately, I don't see anything wrong being an LP. I think it's a great way to diversify and a great way to have a truly passive income when you're working and getting the phone calls and dealing with these other problems. So it can be great. I don't think you should shy away from those if you can do them.
So your properties are obviously, I think you're in 4 different states now. So, and you live in a 5th. So, are you do you have other partners, and do you have the same team in each of those opportunities, or does that change from deal to deal?
It changes from deal to deal. Some of the partners are the same in a couple of them, but for the most part, we try to partner with local boots on the ground people that have very good experience and have a wealth of knowledge of that market itself.
Okay.
Seeing as how we are in California, one of the strengths that we have is the ability to bring investors to these other deals, but finding a way to avoid having to fly out there every 2 or 3 weeks to like do a property check and things like that. Making sure you have somebody who's boots on the ground is a huge part of it, and somebody that you trust,
Yeah.
And bringing some of the other strengths with the asset management side of things and being on the phone to negotiate certain aspects of in asset management and investor relations and doing things, the accounting aspects of those and some of our strengths allows us to partner with people that are more local, that Aaron said can go by and check the property on an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
But it's been in Oklahoma, we did partner with similar partners, and now in Tampa, we're going to have the same partner from a Virginia deal as well. So some of them do cross.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Tampa area is pretty hot right now. So you have an 88 unit property you're working on there. When's that looking to close at this point?
That one's scheduled to close September 20th.
Good.
So a little more than a month away right now. Yeah. Nobody really knows what's going to happen on the market in the next couple of years.
Sure.
So one of the things that we did in our stress test before we decided we were going to move forward with it is we underwrote it with a long-term stable debt, which is what we're getting. So whatever, it's a 7-year loan. So whatever happens the next couple of years, we'll be able to ride that out, knowing what our payment's going to be. We also factored in what it would look like if we're able to do a refinance in year 3. So we're very much avoiding bridge debt at this point and like looking at longer term investments because of the uncertainty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I'm hearing a little bit more of that. And 6, 8, 9 months ago, there was a lot of conversation about grab bridge debt. And now, as the market starts to change a little bit, I think there's a bigger push to let's lock in, make sure that it works with what we locked in at, and be able to hang on.
Yeah. The biggest thing is being conservative. Your investors' capital is everything, right?
Yeah.
They need to have a good experience. You need to preserve their capital and hopefully have it grow. And if you put yourself in a situation where you could have a huge balloon payment at the wrong time, then you're not really buying the asset right or financing it right.
Mm.
And I'm assuming everybody knows that listens to your podcast here what bridge debt is, but to explain, we're not getting into debt that's due the full payment in 18 months, 24 months when we buy these. Even though this is a heavy value add, we're buying them to explain the deal a little bit more. The rents we think we can get based on the comps, which I toured myself. So it's not like we're not flying to the buildings and checking. We do that. Just we're not doing it every other week during the turn, like Aaron was saying. So I flew out, checked the comps in the area, similar vintage, similar age units with the same amenities, same quality of what we're going to bring them to, are renting in the 2,000 range. Actually, now even above 2,200. The average rents of ours are around 900, 950. Wow. So there's a lot of meat on the bone. When I was secret shopping our asset, our building, to see if I could rent it as a prospective tenant, they were telling me 1,300 as is. So bringing it from 950 to 1,300. If we were projecting 10 to 15K a door, depending on the particular unit, and being able to bring that from 900 up to close to 2,000. The building we got at 16 million, so about 182 a door, a little under. It appraised with as-is rents for close to 18 million just the other day. Wow. And we're able to negotiate a very substantial credit on it. With some of the, we knew some of the breakers were old and needed to be replaced. Mm-hmm. So we had that in our underwriting already, but we were able to negotiate with the seller to get a pretty hefty credit. So this deal's turning out to be one that we're excited about.
Wow, that sounds like a great one. Although I live in South Jersey, I mean, majority of my underwriting at this point is in the Tampa area. I just love that area. I love the surroundings. And, to hear you talk about even $186,000 a door, I think that is, definitely sweet spot, or even better. We're seeing a lot of $200+ 200 plus a door. And then, as you get closer to the beach, I mean, I was looking at a property today that was like $350 a door, as you get closer to the beach area. So I based on what I'm seeing in that area, based on the way I underwrite, I think you definitely have the right numbers there. And it's there's real good value add. You touched on something that I thought was very interesting, Devin, and maybe we haven't spoken about this on my podcast yet, but we talk a lot about value add, right? We talk about buying a property and increasing the value, and then people are going to want to pay more in rent. But there's that other side of it that is, mom and pop landlords haven't increased the rents, and there's still the concept that you could increase the rent without increasing the value, right? I mean, you have such a difference between what the property's renting for now and what it could rent for, right? They're renting at $900 a unit, and without doing anything, you probably could get $1,350. That's a pretty big value add right there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things that we, when we're taking over these buildings, we don't want to displace people for no reason. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So offering them that, be like, give them a 60-day notice and tell them, hey, go look around and see if you can find something for less than $1,350.
Yeah.
If you can't, great, this is your new rent. And that we've already kind of done that research to find out that they really can't find anything like that. We are going to enhance the building. We are going to make it safer and better for them, so their resident experience is going to be better too. But having that little, like, in the middle ground, I think, like you're saying, it's a huge bonus to this property.
I think Aaron nailed it too. We're adding value. So you're saying, you're going from 900 to 1,350, but you're going to have a new paint job. Common areas are going to be nice. We're going to eventually, we're going to be trying to add a gym. We're going to be adding a pergola and some lawn chairs out by the pool. Eventually, security gate around the exterior lighting. So we're going to make it a nicer, safer place to live, where we hope people can see that and say, I'm willing to pay more. One, because it's still hundreds of dollars below the market rents around. And two, you're cleaning up, you're taking care of the leaks when they happen, you're cleaning the place up, pest control, all the stuff to make it a better experience for where they're living. And that's something that's important to us too. We want
Sure.
we want the residents to be happy. We want them to enjoy where they live and take pride and clean up the surroundings for themselves as well.
Yeah. I love, and I hope you did this intentionally, but I love that you refer to them as residents, because I think that creates a little bit more of a feeling of a home. This is their home. This is where they live. I think sometimes we say tenants and it just seems a little bit more like a business, but you're creating a home for these people. And I love that you're going to continue to add value for them and make it a better place for them. So good stuff. I want to transition a little bit over. This is the Healthy Investor Podcast. So we like to talk about routines, habits, any, sort of healthy habits that you have. Before we jumped on the call, Aaron had mentioned that he used to run cross country. So, are you still doing any of that? So tell me a little bit about with some of those kind of things.
So I'm not running cross country anymore, but Devin down there's in the middle of training for a marathon. So
nice.
Yeah, I am coming up. Hopefully by the time this comes out, I'm still alive. It's October 2nd. So we'll see but yeah, I've been running a lot. I ran some of the habits. I mean, we're both active. We're both into rock climbing. Aaron plays basketball in a league twice a week. I obviously have been running 30 plus miles a week, going on 18, 20-mile runs. One thing recently that I think we both try and do something active in the morning. Sometimes Aaron does his at night with basketball, but every day I usually am running or climbing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm doing yoga. I'm running. And then we both started playing golf kind of recently. And one of the things that I really like about that is turning my phone off. So with real estate sales and the investments, I'm always glued to my phone, answering a client or something that's coming up. And even though golf can be a stressful game, oftentimes turn your phone off and be able to be in the moment. And even if you have a bad shot, you made that bad shot in the moment and you can clear your head. And that's something to me that's been really important. And I've been finding some value in that. Not necessarily, I think golf is fun and great, but I think just the overall aspect of really turning the phone off and being in the moment and clearing your head is important for me. And staying active with any of those things, trying to maintain the exercise is really good for clearing your head.
Very cool.
I have a pretty good morning routine that I go in and out of.
Okay.
But I usually tried to take an hour before, like I wake up an hour earlier. It comes from the Miracle Morning. I don't know if you know that book or not, but
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. But I take an hour and do I write, I stretch, I read, I meditate. And then I would always play music as well, just play guitar for a little bit and just do 10 minutes of that every single day or whatever it is. It really makes a huge difference as far as you do something for yourself before you do a million things for other people.
Yeah. That's interesting. I love that you mentioned the Miracle Morning. So I guess sort of 2015, 2016, I started listening to Bigger Pockets, and I had this habit. I had an outside sales position where I was in my car a lot. And, I live in Philadelphia. I'm born and raised in Philly. And, I listened to sports talk radio and it was nothing but negativity. So I was like, I can't do this anymore. Right. Our teams don't win the championships all that often. So it's negative sports talks radio. And I said, I have to get away from this. And I started listening to podcasts. I started listening to Bigger Pockets. And at the time, what I did was I listened to the most recent one, and then I just kept going backwards. And I probably listened to 2 or 3 a day for a long period of time. And it was making a difference in my life and it was helping me. And then they interviewed Hal Elrod, right? I'd never heard of Hal Elrod. He comes on, in 30 minutes, he explains what the Miracle Morning is. And it just resonated with me. And I said, I need this in my life. And at the time, I was a person who, I stayed up late at night. The story I told myself was that I'm a night owl, right? So I stayed up late at night and I watched late night TV, and, it was quickly easy for me to figure out how I could find that extra hour in the morning. And I probably did a strict version of the Miracle Morning I have to check my journal. I think I did it for 650 days. I did it for the better part of 2 years. And now I still use portions of that in my morning routine. So I love that, you mentioned the Miracle Morning because it truly made an impact for me. But then I also think there's a certain bit of figure out what works for you and what can you draw on for that.
I was just gonna say that, like the pressure, what you're saying of listening to the podcasts and being on Instagram and Facebook and seeing your colleagues, and I always go back and forth. Oftentimes, more often than not, it's inspiring, but sometimes it was getting me like I'm not doing enough. Being entrepreneurial, and I'm sure a lot of people listening can relate. You kind of get down on yourself. You do, and you compare yourself. And so the Miracle Morning, I think, is a great way to clear your head, but also remembering sometimes I stay up when everybody else is asleep, and between 10 and 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm firing, and forgiving myself then to say, okay, you know what? I can sleep in to now sleeping in 7:30 in the morning, but I can sleep in and I can go sit in the sauna at the gym and clear my head because I put the hours in the night before. And I think it's important to remember that for the mental health of not beating yourself up, and everybody's on their own journey, because oftentimes I was beating myself up and still do, I'm sure. And it helps you grow, but it can be a setback as well. So I wanted to make sure to call that out too.
Yeah, absolutely. And what works best for you.
It's so important. It's so important to not beat yourself up. That's like the bottom line. Like forgive yourself. Doesn't matter. Like if you sleep, I used to be the kind of person that I would sleep until 10 minutes before I had to get out the door, and I would jump in the shower and get out. And like the stress that I didn't even know I was holding because of that is just night and day difference.
One of the things, and Devin, you'd mentioned this a little bit earlier, but one of the things that I like about my morning routine is that I try to make it a point. My first alarm goes off at 5:30. I'm usually up between 5:30 and 5:45. Sometimes my dog allows me to wake up even earlier. But
like I said, allows you. It doesn't.
Yes. So, but yeah, I really try to make a conscious effort that I do my reading. I try to spend some quiet time, close my eyes, meditate. I have some affirmations that I like to read. And the most important part of that for me, and I notice a difference when I spend that first hour and a half, 2 hours of my day not looking at my phone, makes a huge difference. If I jump up in the morning and maybe I slept a little bit later or whatever, but I grab my phone and I see whatever Instagram notifications or emails or whatever, it makes a difference mentally. Like I need to spend that time early in the morning just without looking at my phone. And similar to what you said about golf, I think you need that time to just clear your mind and to put all that stuff away.
Yeah, agreed. That's like the time, like golf early in the morning. And then I usually turn my phone off after dinner. I'll put it on airplane mode so that I just don't. Every once in a while I will check it before I go to bed, but I'm always happier when I don't.
Okay. I like that. So, Devin, what marathon are you doing?
I grew up outside of Portland, Oregon. So my buddy from high school convinced me to do the Portland Marathon. And actually, the real estate investing had a piece of this. We go to a networking events, and I went to an event. For anyone listening who said they could never do a marathon, I went to an event in January and I ran like whatever it was, 4 or 5 miles with the group, and I was dying. Yeah. And then I went to an event in March, like almost 2 full months later, and I hadn't ran in between and I said, I'll wake up and run with you guys again. And I almost died again on the 5-mile run. So for 2 months, I only ran twice. And then my buddy challenged me in March and he said, do you want to run a marathon? I said, I can't do that. And he said, you're not getting any younger. So I said, okay, I'll do it. So from January, I didn't run at all. And now I'm doing it in October. So, and I'm feeling really good. I'm proud of myself. It's very
good
cool.
For you. Yeah. Good for you. I haven't reached the marathon portion yet. I've done a couple of half marathons, couple 10-mile races, but I've been to some of the similar networking events, and I love waking up Saturday morning with the same. I'm sure it's the same group. We wake up on Saturday morning, and I was in Knoxville in May, and we did the 5-mile run. And one thing I didn't realize about Knoxville is that there's some pretty significant hills there. And most of the group is a little bit faster than me, for them to run steady, sub 9. Yeah. But it pushes you. Awesome. So I want to be respectful of your time. I really appreciate you both coming on here. I'd like to jump into the final three questions that we ask everyone. So maybe we can each take a turn here. Devin first, and then Aaron, and then we'll switch next time. So, what is your definition of success?
I'm going first on that question. Yeah, that's a tough question. I think the definition of success. Wow, the first thing that pops in my head is being content with yourself and happy with yourself and comfortable with yourself. And one of my big whys, I guess I'll go into that, is financially freedom for myself to do more traveling that I want to do and spending time with my family, but then also teaching others how to obtain that. And I think the second part is a big part of the success for me of wanting to take what I've learned and hopefully the freedom that I'll have and being able to help teach other people so that they can obtain it themselves. So success being in a place where I'm comfortable enough that I can teach others.
Great. I love that. I love that you are utilizing, not only creating your own success, but also instantly went into how you can utilize that and those skills to give back to others. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, some of the times I've been the most depressed in my life, going to volunteer, or going to help other people, or the second your buddy calls you and he needs a hand, that's what kind of drags you out of when you're upset. So yeah, I don't know. It's flips the switch in your mind, Yeah.
Yeah. I think success to me I think it's always learning. You're never at that summit that everybody's trying to hit. You always should be learning. And then, like Devin said, helping other people around you that are interested to achieve the same things that you want to, and kind of bring everybody up together. I don't feel like one person is successful without the team around them. So like really raising the level of everybody around you. Yeah, and on a personal level, just I love traveling with my wife, and I want to do that more and more. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So we'll come back to Aaron. We'll let him go first on this one. Next question. So for someone who's new to investing or even learning to focus on their goals and their path to success, can you give a good book recommendation?
I mentioned it already. I would say The Miracle Morning. Just a way to start your day for you and really focus on personal growth. I think it'll just set you up for the rest of your day. Yeah.
All right, great. Devin?
As I look over to my bookshelf on my left to see the book that pops into my head, the book that when we finished the tour in New York and flew back home, was The ABCs of Real Estate Investing, Ken McElroy book. Completely changed my life. So I listened to that one. I think it's I have to go back and reread it now, but all the things I've learned, I think a lot of those were in that initial book that I read. So real estate specific, but that's a great book.
Excellent. Ken provides a ton of value. I don't know. He has a really good podcast. He's audible books and all of that. I really enjoy following Ken. So before we get into the final question, just want to thank you both, Aaron and Devin, for coming on. I really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun. I met Devin once in a Zoom meeting, and I haven't met Aaron before this, but I felt like I was talking to a couple of friends the whole time. So this is a lot of fun for me. How can we support you, and how can people reach out to you and contact you if they're looking to?
Sure, they could reach out. We should have a shared an email, info@devinandaaron.com. Super easy, DEVIN and AARON.com. And yeah, we'd love to talk real estate, love to talk investing, love to talk outdoor climbing, hiking, biking stuff anywhere in the country or world traveling. And if you have any tips on what you're doing in your real estate journey and want to chat, we love, like Aaron said, always learning.
Yep. Always learning and always partnering. So we love to connect with people that are doing the same thing. So yeah, you can find us at onsiteequity.com as well.
Great. And then the final question, and I think we'll split this. I normally ask for 3 from each person, but since there's 2, you can kind of take a different hack at it. But if you could think back to an age of maybe 10 to 12 years old, sort of preteen, knowing what you've learned so far on your journey, what are 3 pieces of advice or a couple pieces of advice that you would give to yourself or any preteen child to help guide them towards success?
I would say the first thing that popped into my head, and this might not be where we're trying to go with goals and business, but honestly is to enjoy the time when you don't have the stress of thinking about, okay, I need to support a family and I need to make money and I need to pay all these bills. And really, I feel like a lot of times going through high school and college, it was, what do I want to do? What do I want to be? And now looking back on it, it's like you can go do and be anything. And if it doesn't work out after 6 months, you can go try and be something else. So like Aaron said, we played in a band. I was a substitute teacher. We're real estate sales. We're in real estate investing. Who knows? Maybe I'll go take a class and learn how to be a coder and tech. I probably won't do that, but but just not stressing out about that stuff as much. And so aside from the goals, but that's something I think I'd like to tell myself looking back.
I was going to say something similar, which is try everything. Try to do everything and see what you like. Because like Devin said, there's the cool thing about being a human really is that we can adapt and learn something new at any given moment in our lives. So like Devin, you could start out as a musician and you could end up a physicist working for Tesla. There's no limit to what you can do. You just have to apply yourself and be passionate about it.
There you go.
Yeah. I love it. That's
I think
great.
Obviously, I mean, a big one that luckily my dad instilled in me is like credit card money is not fake money. It's real money. So if you charge something on your credit card, make sure you have the money in your bank account to pay it. Because I can't tell you how many of my friends and people I know in late 20s and early 30s are saying, man, no one ever taught me how to stay out of debt, what that meant. So
yeah, every month, pay it off every month.
Yeah.
I think an interesting message that, I think you're right. And in that age, maybe even heading into middle school, you're not talking about debt at all. And then all of a sudden it seems like, end of high school and everybody wants to give you a credit card. And the conversation, I think the real conversation on debt that I would love to personally go back and give myself is the difference between good debt and bad debt.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. Because sometimes we are educated about debt from people who say all debt is bad. And the reality is we need debt to leverage and to grow our business, but only when it's good debt. Right. So, yeah.
Like
excellent.
7-year fixed term, like Aaron explained earlier.
I love that. That's great.
Wait, there was something else that since we're going back, my dad told me, I'm relaying the messages on, but I remember in high school in particular, so a little bit older than middle school, I was applying for colleges and he said, hey, you should apply for this scholarship. And I said, come on, Dad, I don't want to write that essay. I want to go play with my friends. He said, hey, how much are you making at the coffee shop you're working at? I told him. He said, what's, $1,000 for this essay? How many hours do you have to work to get that $1,000? I said, wow, I got to work that many hours. He goes, do you want to write the essay? I said, yeah, I want to write the essay. So from that point on, I spent all the time I could writing essays for scholarships. And that helped me out because that was a lot better than working all those hours. So that was really cool, actually.
I haven't heard that. That's good. I like that.
Yeah, that's excellent. Cool. Well, thank you both so much. I really appreciate you being on here. Make sure you check them out. Aaron Bernbach, Devin McNichol, thank you so much for being on the Healthy Investor podcast. And for everyone who listened, thanks so much and make it a great day. Thanks so much for joining me on the Healthy Investor podcast. Check out the show notes for more information about connecting with our guest. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please head on over to iTunes and leave a positive rating and review. It would mean the world to me. I'm grateful for your support, and I wish you an abundance of success on your journey to healthy investments and a healthy life.